stimulus checks going out immediately if this happens. And yes, this would include the low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries of Social Security, retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, low-income, no-income, seniors, older adults, and of course, people with disabilities. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now first off, before we get any further into this video, stimulus checks are not going out as of right now, which I think we all completely understand. However, in this video, I do want to lay out the situation in which stimulus checks would be going out very quickly if this situation happens. So let's get into it and talk through all the details. As we all know, things are changing very rapidly right now, and it's a very weird time with a lot of weird things that have come down as of recently. Let's get right into it. However, really quickly before we do, thanks so much for joining me. If you're enjoying this video so far and you want more like it, please make sure to subscribe right down below the video. It's totally free to do so, and I'm here for you right by your side each and every day to help you out in any way that I possibly can. As we all know, it's a very busy, confusing, and uncertain time. We're getting new information hitting the wire literally every single day. I'm watching all that closely and bringing it to you in these short videos, especially for the low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. I want to break it all down so you can grab as much as you possibly can out there that's going on, as well as pointing out how this may impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, and of course, your bank account. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and let's get into it and talk about the situation in which would garner more stimulus checks focused on the American people, especially the low income. And what is really going on right now, especially some of the different events that have transpired here over the last handful of months and what we can expect through the rest of this year, okay? All right, so let's get into it and talk through this. Now, again, like I said earlier, as of right now, I just want to make this very clear so that I don't see any comments down below saying, you said checks are arriving tomorrow. No, checks are not arriving tomorrow. They're not arriving next week. We know all of this, okay? I think we are all on the same page with this, but I just want to reiterate for just a second here, okay? But let's talk through the situation because this year is a very weird one. And again, we want to point out the details here as far as what's going on and what would predicate Congress to actually approve more stimulus checks. Now, here's the thing. Do we know for sure Congress is going to do this? No, we don't know that for sure. Is there a high likelihood of Congress that would do this? Well, here's the thing. If the situation plays out, which according to what everything is looking like right now, if the situation plays out, throughout the rest of this year, then the likelihood of something like this happening continues to increase. Now, again, just like with everything, there's no guarantee of virtually anything out there right now. However, we're looking at the probabilities, right? We can look at probabilities. And again, if probabilities continue to increase, well then, obviously, the higher the probability, then obviously that is something we can probably look at, okay? But again, I want to say one more thing really quickly. I've seen comments down below and I've seen articles out there, all kinds of things coming out saying, this Congress would never approve a stimulus check. Really? I wouldn't say that. Here's the thing. We know that, okay? We know that over the last few years, 2020, late 2020, early 2021, Congress has been very different. It's been divided. It's been all one party. Again, for the most part, they approve stimulus checks all across the board. So I would not say that this Congress would not do it. If the situation is right, if the right situation plays out, and if we are in that situation, then I would say it doesn't matter who is there. They all know the solution to this, and this is something they've been doing for many, many decades now, okay? They do the same thing every single time. All right, but anyway, let me talk through the details about this. So we know right now, whether you watch this closely or you don't, you've probably heard it somewhere. You've seen it on your local news. You've read it in the newspaper. Does anybody read the newspaper anymore? I don't know. But either way, you've probably seen it somewhere. You've heard me talk about it here on the channel, all kinds of things. Now, first off, the economy is crumbling under our feet, okay? Now, again, this is not me being a pessimist. This is me being a realist. We've got to watch everything that's going on, okay? This economy is on pretty shaky ground right now, okay? So we've seen this happen a number of months ago. We started to see banks started to collapse, right? Now, is that not indicative of, a financial crash coming, or is that just a one-off situation where all of a sudden, within about 24, 48, 72 hours, we had 3 banks crumble? Is that kind of a little bit of an indication that maybe something bigger is coming? Yeah, right? That is showing some major cracks in the financial situation, or in the financial industry, right? So again, more banks would have collapsed, but what happened is countries started stepping in and they started saving these banks, giving them hundreds of billions of dollars or tens of billions of dollars to make sure that these things wouldn't fail. So again, it's basically just putting a Band-Aid on something that we know is going to be a gusher going forward, okay? So it doesn't really matter how much they step in and try to step in and help out these situations. Eventually, the cracks will come forward, and it's all going to happen. It's all going to come forward. So what we're watching here very closely is, number one, the Federal Reserve going forward and what they're going to continue to doing with all of this interest rate policy and what's going on here. Now, again, I don't want to turn this into a big economic lesson, but at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to, okay? It's not about COVID anymore. Now, here's the thing. The checks that were sent out in early 2020, late 2020, those ones were focused on what was going on at the time, COVID, right? The check that went out in early 2021, the $1,400, we don't really know. That didn't really have anything to do with COVID. That was just literally just a check that went out for who knows what reason. But either way, we got a check. Anyway, we were all happy at the time, right? So who cares about the reason? It is not about COVID anymore. In fact, the next check, in the event we get something, will have nothing to do with COVID. It will not be a COVID relief check, okay? That's what the first three were identified as. It will not be that. I guarantee it. This next one will be something like a economic revitalization plan or a anti-inflationary or a bring the economy back, it's in the gutter type of check. Whatever they want to call it, it's going to be about revitalizing the economy, okay? So over the last, call it 20-some years, we've seen multiple checks, okay? Like in 2020 and 2021, when we saw the dot-com bubble and we saw everything busting under our feet, that distributed a stimulus check. A $300 stimulus check was distributed at that time. Was it because of COVID? Nope. Was it because of some other type of situation? Yeah, it was. The financial situation and the financial industry was crumbling, okay? As a result of that, the economy was going down and they had to do something to bring it back. So they passed all of these billions and billions of dollars in packages and they sent checks out to the people to bring the economy back. Now, the same thing happened in 2008, 2009 during the Great Financial Crisis. Same exact thing happened. Was it COVID? Nope. COVID wasn't even a thing then, right? Well, maybe it was, not that any of us knew about, but it was the Great Financial Crisis. It was the bust of the real estate market and all of these subprime mortgages or whatever loans, things like this. It was just basically the financial situation crumbling yet again. And what did they do? They came forward. The economy was going down. Unemployment was going up. People were losing their jobs left and right. Bankruptcies all over the place. Foreclosures all over the place. And what did they do? They gave people $600 stimulus checks. Okay, so that's what it was about. Now, in early 2020, what was that about? The catalyst at that time was COVID, shutting down the economy. Again, do you see a trend here? When the economy goes down, checks are printed, okay? It doesn't matter the catalyst. The catalyst is literally just the reasoning behind, okay? So what's going to be the next catalyst? Well, based on what we're currently seeing, it looks like it's going to be another great financial crash, okay? That is likely what's going to be this next one as well. We've seen the cracks in the financial system. We've seen the cracks in the banking system. And all of this, these interest rate hikes that we've seen out of the Federal Reserve are bringing things in, right? Now, eventually, we've seen over the last few job reports as well, we've seen that the unemployment rate, continues to stay steady and that jobs are apparently being created. Doesn't really make sense. Something is not adding up here. The unemployment rate does not stay steady and jobs are not being created when we continue to see headline after headline that huge corporations are laying off thousands or tens of thousands of people. And these are just the large corporations that we're hearing of. Amazon, 18,000 people. Oh wait, just kidding, another 7,000 on top of that. Google, 11,000 people or something like that. Ford, like 10,000 people. Again, the list goes on and on and on. Thousands upon thousands of people with these larger corporations. These are just the ones we're hearing about, by the way. How about all the smaller ones that are letting go 200 people, 400 people, 1,000 people, 6 people from small businesses. Again, how many people are really being laid off right now? So my point is, with all the numbers that we've been seeing coming out showing the unemployment rate is holding steady and jobs are still being created, that's not adding up. Things are not making sense right now. Are the numbers being a little bit manipulated? Well, again, I'm not going to sit here and be a conspiracy theorist and say, oh yeah, they're tinkering with the numbers. We don't know that. But what I am saying is these things are not adding up. The situation is not making sense, okay? That is not how it really works. When people are losing their jobs and, tens of thousands of people are losing positions, things like that, we're not seeing, a stagnant unemployment rate. That's This just doesn't happen. This is not right. Okay, so I'm not saying that I want people to lose their jobs. I'm just simply saying things are not adding up here. And when all of this comes forward and transparency hits, we're going to say, oh, look, the financial situation is a lot worse than actually what they're telling us it actually is, right? So again, we have to remember too as well, a lot of these numbers and a lot of these reports and a lot of these things that we see coming out are highly manipulated. So again, we got to watch all this stuff closely. But what it all comes down to, in the event we do see a major financial crash further than what we started to see so far this year. I mean, if things really hit fast and hard and aggressive, and if we see a major collapse in a lot of things going forward, guess what happens? They do the same thing every single time. Congress does the same thing. They come forward, they pass hundreds of billions of dollars worth of packages, a lot of times containing some type of relief check. Again, whatever it's called, a stimulus check, a relief check, an economic impact payment, a COVID relief check, whatever, anti-inflationary check. It does not matter the name of it. They're going to come up with some fancy name. They'll probably spend all kinds of time thinking about the name of this thing, whatever they want to call it, but it's not going to have anything to do with COVID. It's going to be having to do with the economy crumbling, okay? And that's what it's coming down to. So in this event, when we do see all of this, they will rush to pass another package, maybe even multiple packages. There's going to be relief in there for the American people. There's going to be relief in there for businesses, small businesses, just like we've seen every single time. There's going to be relief in there for unemployed people because there's going to be millions of people unemployed at that time. And again, this is the same situation. The same thing we see every single time. They will rush to do this. And what will the Federal Reserve do? Well, they will start cutting interest rates aggressively, and guess what else they're going to do? They're going to print tons and tons of money, just like they do every single time. They call it quantitative easing, or QE. Maybe you've heard about it. They do it all the time, okay? In fact, they did QE for about 10 years. Up until not that long ago, they stopped QE. Maybe, a year and a half ago, something like that? They stopped QE, quantitative easing. In other words, ongoing indefinite stimulus where they print billions of dollars every single month. So the whole purpose behind that is because basically the United States dollar is collapsing, okay? So the only way that they can keep it above water is by printing more of it. So anyway, totally messed up system, but this is what's going on. And this is the situation in which checks would be approved and sent out immediately yet again, okay? So like I said earlier, checks are not going out as of now, but when we continue to see this whole situation play out, I know it's a long process. I know it's annoying. I know people need money right away. I know there's a lot of people struggling. I wish there was something I could do about it. But again, I've seen comments down below, saying different things about me and whatever like that. I don't have the authority to approve anything like this. If I did, we wouldn't have this conversation. We wouldn't have had this conversation years ago. People would have been taken care of. And again, it would be, if it were up to me, let me tell you exactly what I would do if it were up to me. I would focus checks on low income people. Does somebody earning 75 grand a year need a check? No, in my honest opinion, you don't need a check. I'm sorry. $75,000 a year is not low income, in my honest opinion. I would focus checks on those individuals who are very low income, like $40,000, $30,000, $25,000 of income. Focus checks on those individuals for many reasons that we've talked about here on the channel before. This is the best way to stimulate the economy. Giving checks to the lower income people, we know, based on the studies, this is not me saying this, these are the studies that show it, lower income people have a higher propensity to spend that money and again, stimulate the economy. This is the best solution they could do. What do higher income people do? Do they spend money? They spend money, but when they get a check, do they spend it? No, it's generally saved. Is that stimulating the economy? Does saving money stimulate the economy? Not one bit. It stimulates nothing, okay? It sits there, it's dead money laying around doing nothing, okay? Dead money does not help anything. We need money that's moving, money velocity, okay? The velocity of money is where things happen, okay? And we know the low-income people do that. They give money velocity, okay? By moving it through the economy, by spending it for goods and services. Not bad, right? So that's exactly what we need. Anyway, long story short, this is the situation in which checks would be sent out immediately. Again, we've seen it happen before. When Congress wants to move fast, they can do it, okay? I know we all think they're a bunch of sloths. We all think that they should really be working at the DMV, things like that. But really, they do work. And again, I apologize. I don't mean to slam the DMV. They're actually pretty good, but I'm talking about that one movie. What's the name of that movie? I don't watch movies, but again, I think there's a movie out there. Is it Zoolanders, maybe? I'm not really sure. But anyway, there's a movie and the people working at the DMV are sloths. Anyway, it's just kind of funny. But my point is, we know that Congress is very, very slow, right? And we know that in the event that they want to move fast, they're kind of like a turtle, right? Have you ever seen a turtle? They move very slow. But guess what? Have you ever seen a turtle run? They're actually pretty fast, okay? If you've ever seen that happen. Turtles are very, very slow, but if they want to, they can actually move pretty quick, okay? Anyway, my point is, Congress is the same thing. They can move very quickly if they want to, okay? So that's the same situation that we saw a couple years ago. When they were doing all this, they moved pretty quick, surprisingly very fast. Anyway, hope this one helps you. I'm going to leave it there for now. Of course, I could sit here literally for an hour or 2 or 3 just going on and on about all of these different things that have happened out there and what's going on and what I'm watching closely. But this is what I want to break down for you in the situation in which text would be approved and sent out. So again, please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media. Go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day. Take care. Have a good one and catch you again later.